Craig Stammen's postgame comments. Plus, we'll bring you today's play of the game. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
Welcome into our Jamul Casino Resort Padres post-game show here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Final score in this series opener in St. Louis tonight, the Cardinals 3 and the Padres nothing. A lot to do on our post-game coverage. We'll hear from tonight's interim manager, Randy Knorr, with Craig Stammen serving a one-game suspension today. We'll also have all the radio highlights for you, recap this game from start to finish, full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and much, much more. As always, our post-game coverage brought to you by Jamul Casino Resort. Hey, player, need a little me time? Jamul Spa was just named one of the top 100 spas in America. Jamul Casino Resort, the player's place. Well, before today's game, we wondered a couple of things, and one of the main items we wondered about was, could the Padres do more tonight against Dustin May than they did against him when he pitched in San Diego with the Cardinals in early May? Remember that game, May 9th at Petco Park? He was good. He actually took the loss in that game, but gave up just 2 earned runs, 3 total over 6 innings. And we told you how Dustin May had just come off 6 shutout innings against the Mets last week. We told you about Dustin May having a sub-2 ERA in his last 3 starts. He had struck out 24, walked only 3 in those 18-plus innings. And guess what? Dustin May was even better here tonight. The Padres couldn't touch him in this game, and the Padres forget about doing better against Dustin May than they did in his first start against them this year. The Padres barely did anything, unfortunately. They had 1 hit in this game. Dustin May at one point had 6 perfect innings before he issued a leadoff walk in the 7th inning. Then the Padres had a single in the 7th inning, and that was it. That was the lone hit and the lone inning of this game where the Padres had base traffic against Dustin May. He nearly pitched the Maddox today, a complete game shutout, 1 hit allowed on a grand total of 101 pitches, 69 for strikes. Dustin May was simply excellent in this game. He has been really good as of late, and he was dominant tonight against the Padres. On their pitching side of things, you know what? The pitching did their part. Wandy Peralta, scoreless inning in his opener role. Lucas Giolito, 5 innings, 3 runs given up. He wasn't perfect in this game, gave up some hits. You know, there was a couple of bad breaks, right? We'll talk about it in that 5th inning in particular, or excuse me, I should say the 4th inning in particular, where he gave up the 2 runs. If he makes a play on a ball, if a ball doesn't go off Wagner's mitt at third base, maybe it ends up being a different inning. And then Kyle Hart gave you 2 scoreless innings out of the bullpen to keep you in the game. But quite honestly, none of it mattered here tonight because Dustin May threw a complete game 1 hitter. Padres had no runs on 1 hit. The 1 hit was a single. They had a single and a walk in this game. That was it against Dustin May. He was nearly perfect, and he nearly threw a no-hitter tonight. So certainly a frustrating night offensively for the Padres. That goes without saying as they drop the first game of this 3-game series in St. Louis. And I'll tell you what really hurts about this game and the way Dustin May pitched today. And that is something we talked about pregame. It was my first key to today's game, if you remember, and it was capitalize on the Cardinals bullpen. And I said that for 2 reasons. Number one, their bullpen had pitched really poorly as of late. They had given up a lot of runs and home runs in a span of 4 games where the Cardinals had lost 3 of them. And we talked about how their bullpen had been really overworked out of late. Romero, Soriano, their closer, Riley O'Brien, they had been really overworked as of late. And the problem here tonight was the Padres could never get into that bullpen. To me, that was the hope tonight. You would at least do enough against May to get into a taxed Cardinals bullpen. But it didn't happen tonight because May pitched a complete game shutout and gave up 1 hit. So I'll tell you, you compound tonight's loss on the fact that you just gave this Cardinals bullpen a full off day on a day where they desperately needed it. I mean, if you're Ollie Marmol and you're the Cardinals, you're saying, my goodness, Dustin May, thank you. we needed an off day for this bullpen, and you went out and did it and took care of it yourself. So it's not what you wanted the first game of the series when the Cardinals already had a really taxed bullpen. So from that standpoint as well, was not a great day for the Padres, and they lose 3-0 in this series opener, and they're now 2-2 on this 9-game road trip with the stops in Baltimore and St. Louis so far. We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll get into more detail about this game. We'll hear from tonight's interim manager, Randy Knorr, in just a little bit as well. Final score again in this series opener, Cardinals 3 and the Padres 0. Our postgame coverage continues after this. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Final score here today, the Cardinals 3 and the Padres 0. We'll get into this game in extreme detail for you in just a second. We'll also hear from tonight's interim manager, Randy Knorr. Remember, Craig Stammen was serving a 1-game suspension for MLB determining that Ron Marinaccio intentionally hit Gunnar Henderson in Baltimore this past weekend. Now, Marinaccio was given a 3-game suspension as well. He appealed it, so he was actually available tonight. So we'll see if that suspension gets reduced at all. But Craig Stammen did just serve the suspension tonight, so he was out tonight. Randy Knorr, bench coach, was the manager for the night. So Randy Knorr will handle post-game responsibilities. I did have a comment here on YouTube that's made me chuckle a little bit. It said, Sammy, you are supposed to be making us feel positive. Look, on most nights, I find a way. Now, I'm going to sprinkle in some positivity about this game. Don't worry. You know me. I'll get some positivity in there. But look, from like the big picture perspective of the game, they got one hit, and they were shut out by Dustin May, who threw just 101 pitches in this game. So there wasn't a ton positive to take away from that standpoint, or just the way it all played out tonight from an offensive standpoint. So kind of one of those nights. I do think, I understand why it's frustrating. However, I do think there are nights throughout an 162-game season. There are nights where, for lack of a better term, and I think this will drive some of you crazy out there, but it's a tip your cap kind of night. And I do feel like that's what this was. Now, I understand when the Padres offense has been what it's been this year, and to their credit, it's been better as of late in the last 6 games or so. But on the whole, when it's been what it's been this year, I understand where you're like, hey, I don't want to tip my cap. I do feel like May was excellent tonight. I do feel like it's one of those nights where you do sort of say, all right, tip your cap. You're going to have that happen to you by an opposing starting pitcher every now and then, and you try to go out and still win this series the next couple of days. We'll see. But look, anyway, you slice it, not a great night for the Padres when you're shut out on 1 hit and you lose a ball game 3-0. Let's recap this one, the series opener in St. Louis from start to finish.
Which moments determine the outcome of today's game? We'll paint you a picture with our game highlights on the Padres Radio Network.
Dustin May made the start for the Cardinals tonight. He pitched a 1-2-3 opening frame. Wandy Peralta opened the game for the Padres, a 1-2-3 bottom half of the first. Lucas Giolito took over from there. He got in big trouble in the second, 2 on base with nobody out, but he maneuvered out of the jam. We went to the bottom half of the 4th inning. Still a 0-0 game. Alec Burleson led off for St. Louis.
Giolito delivers, and that's in the air out to straightaway center field and deep. Merrill is back. He is at the wall. He leaps up, and he got it. Took a home run away from Burleson. Thought he had number 14, but number 3 took it away. 1 down in the bottom of the 4th.
As smooth as silk.
Yeah, really smooth, and Jackson Merrill has become so good at those kinds of catches. He took the home run away from Burleson, kept it a 0-0 game. There were 2 outs and nobody on in that 4th inning, but then Lars Nootbaar hit a line drive that went off Will Wagner's mitt at third base. It was a tough play, hit really hard, but resulted in a base hit to left. Mason Wynn then hit a sharp comebacker to the mound. Giolito couldn't field it cleanly. It was at over 100 miles per hour off the bat, so it wasn't a super easy play, but certainly playable perhaps for Giolito. Ended up being an infield single. So all of a sudden, there were 2 on with 2 out for the Cardinals catcher, Jimmy Crooks.
Pitch on the way. That's smacked in the air, deep to left center. Long run. Jackson Merrill not going to get there. Over his head. Tried to cut it off on the warning track, but goes in and out of his glove. Both runners will come in to score. It's a 2-run double for Jimmy Crooks. And the Cardinals have the first 2 runs of the night. 2-0 here in the 4th.
Padres still trailed 2-0 going to the 5th inning. Giolito issued a leadoff walk, but then a double play erased it. Giolito issued another walk, a wild pitch, moved Ivan Herrera to second base. Alec Burleson was at the plate for the Cards.
The 3-1, Burleson swings, lines it over France, down the right field line. That'll bounce and roll towards the corner. Herrera scores easily from second. Now it kicks away from Tatis, and Burleson standing at second base. The Cardinal lead is now 3-0.
So the Cardinals led 3-0. May was cruising. He was perfect through 6 innings, a very manageable pitch count, too. In the 7th inning, Fernando Tatis Jr. led off. He drew a walk. So the perfect game bid was over. A couple batters later, Manny Machado singled. The no-hit bid was over. And now the Padres had runners at the corners with 1 out. The tying run at the plate in Gavin Sheets. But May induced a double play from Sheets to end the inning. Really nice play by Mason Wynn, the shortstop. Had to get to it quickly. Stepped on second. He's got a rocket for an arm. Threw to first base. Got Sheets. And that was the inning. The double play ball getting May out of the 7th. May then struck out the side in the 8th inning. The Padres still trailed 3-0 going to the top of the 9th inning. May got a couple of flyouts and a strikeout. Fernando Tatis Jr. And that was that. A complete game, 1-hitter for Dustin May, a shutout performance. He throws 101 pitches, 69 for strikes, and the Padres fall tonight 3-0. Lucas Giolito took the loss. He drops to 2-2. Giolito was solid. 5 innings, 3 runs given up in the bulk innings roll tonight. 7 hits allowed. Kyle Hart, 2 scoreless innings out of the bullpen. That all coming after Wandy Peralta went a scoreless inning to begin the game. But that was that here tonight. 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors for St. Louis. No runs on 1 hit, no errors for the Pods. The Padres fall to 37-34. Cardinals improve to 39-31. When we come back, we'll hear from tonight's interim Padres manager, the bench coach, Randy Knorr. More to do on our post-game coverage. Again, the final in this series opener at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Cardinals 3 and the Padres nothing. You're listening to the Padres Radio Network. Our post-game coverage continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Again, the final score here tonight, Cardinals 3 and the Padres nothing, as the Padres lose this series opener in St. Louis. Padres now 2-2 on this 9-game road trip. They've got 2 more in St. Louis, day off Thursday, 3 against the Rangers in Texas Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So they are not quite halfway through the trip, but they'll be there tomorrow. Look, no way around it. Really tough night for the Padres offense. You do, of course, tip your cap, in a sense, to Dustin May, who was excellent for the Cardinals in this game. A complete game, 1-hitter, a shutout on 101 pitches. He was perfect through 6. The Padres had 1 inning in this game where they had base traffic against them. And I'll tell you what, it was a good threat. I mean, they had runners at first and third, 1 out. At that point, they were only down 3-0. Gavin Sheets at the plate, who is plenty capable of hitting the ball out and tying the game with 1 swing, but Sheets grounded into a double play. That was the inning, and the Padres would not touch base again. So they had 2 base runners on a walk and a single in the 7th inning, and that was all the base traffic for the Padres tonight. Again, from a pitching standpoint tonight, was really fine. I mean, Wandy Peralta opened the game, did his job, 1-2-3 inning. Lucas Giolito, up and down, but overall 5 innings in the bulk innings roll, 3 runs given up, 7 hits. And I think for Giolito, the frustrating part tonight is you look at that 4th inning. He gets kind of a gift, right, in the sense that Merrill goes up, makes the catch, takes a home run away from Burleson, keeps it a scoreless game for the first out of the inning. Giolito then gets the second out of the inning. So keep in mind in that 4th inning, there are 2 outs and nobody on, right? But after that, a line drive hit hard, goes off the glove of Will Wagner. Really nothing Will could do. Reaction play, almost reacted to it quickly enough, goes off his mitt, rolls into left, but okay. Hey, 2 out single, not the biggest deal in the world. And then the play that I think Giolito is probably going to be really frustrated with, and that is the comebacker off the bat of Mason Wynn. Now, that was not hit super softly. It was a sharp comebacker. In fact, the exit velo was upwards of 100 miles per hour. So it was not like it was a tapper back to the mound. It was sharply hit. But I bet Giolito would probably tell you, hey, I was there to make the play, and hits off his mitt, rolls away, infield single, and then after that, you had the 2-run double by Crooks, and it gives the Cardinals a 2-0 lead. And with the way May was pitching, wasn't really going to matter, if they had any other offense tonight, if the Cardinals had any other offense tonight. The one spot in this game I think you can look at from Giolito and say he has got to improve on, he still had 3 walks in 5 innings. Now, that's not a massive number, but hey, the 5th inning, he walks the leadoff man, gets a double play from Weatherholt to erase the leadoff walk, and then he walks Herrera right after that. Wild pitch, Herrera goes to second, and a double by Burleson drives in Herrera. So that walk really came back to bite Lucas Giolito. So the walk's still a little bit of an issue in this game, but aside from that, couple of hiccups for Giolito, the pitching was fine tonight. But anytime you're facing a guy that did what May did tonight, it's going to be a very, very uphill battle, and that's the way it played out as the Padres again get shut out. Dustin May, a complete game, 1 hitter on only 101 pitches. There was a moment there, you're sitting there in the 9th inning saying, wow, he might have a Maddox in this game. And for those of you unfamiliar, that means a complete game shutout with under 100 pitches. 100 pitches or less, and he threw 101. So he was very close to throwing a Maddox in this game, and it's called a Maddox because Greg Maddox used to do it all the time, and he was so efficient. But unfortunately, here tonight, Padres get shut out by Dustin May. Let's go back to Busch Stadium in St. Louis, and here's some post-game reaction. Again, you'll hear the intro here for Craig Stammen as usual, but this is Randy Knorr, Padres bench coach, the interim manager tonight. Again, Craig Stammen was serving a suspension tonight, 1-game suspension issued by Major League Baseball that stemmed from Major League Baseball claiming that Ron Marinaccio hit Gunnar Henderson intentionally over the weekend. Again, Marinaccio was given a 3-game suspension. He's appealing, so that hasn't started yet, but Stammen did serve the suspension tonight. So again, you'll hear the Stammen intro here, but this is Randy Knorr, who was serving as the interim manager tonight.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stammen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
Randy, that's obviously a pretty good pitcher. That's the story.
Yeah, definitely the story. Dustin had everything going today. Threw them all for strikes, and he threw them all off the plate when he needed to. And he was just tough to hit. We had a great series offensively in Baltimore. We just run into a tough guy tonight, and I expect our offense to get going again tomorrow and get back on it. Just tough draw tonight.
Dustin's a guy that you all have seen a lot. When he was healthy and going well, he was hurt and not going so well. What do you think is the differentiator? What's he look like when he is going so good?
Everything's just working for him. He has a chance to mix it all up. A lot of times he comes out, if he doesn't have his breaking ball, he's got to rely on the fastball. But tonight, it was everything. Threw him all for a counter strike, some sweeper strike. We went through a sweeper for a ball. He threw it for a ball. He threw the edges of the plate. Didn't really leave anything in the middle. And just a good night for him. And it was tough on our guys tonight. And like I said, I think we'll bounce back. I believe we'll bounce back tomorrow after a good series in Baltimore.
How early in a game like that do you know that an opposing pitcher has that kind of stuff? How early is it in the game?
Around the first time through the lineup, and then he hits the top of the lineup again in the fourth, and you're kind of seeing the swings and the takes, and you're going, wow, this guy's got it going tonight. Yep, comes back out in the fifth or so, and it's not as sharp, but it just continued the whole night with him. And you know, I didn't feel like we helped him out either. We were battling with him, and it was just tough.
The low line drive that Gavin hits in the fourth, I think it was the fourth, that gets right to Newpar. He makes the sliding catch on. Is that a little disappointing? Just the spot where maybe you get a ball kind of in play and it just didn't fall the right way?
Yeah, I think that can, you know, change the game around a little bit. That ball falls, and it's like, all right, now what I got to do as a pitcher. But that ball gets caught, I'm stay with what I got going on here, and you know, we never got a chance to get him off of it, having balls fall in and drop.
What'd you make?
Lewis was still in the zone and then kind of ran into a little bit of trouble. What did you see?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you close games like this and you can't really afford to give up too many more runs, you put a little pressure on yourself to not fall behind in counts, and you're trying to make a great pitch here and there, and you know, you kind of pull it a little bit or leave it up. You know, it's tough pitching in, you know, 1 run, 2 run, 3 run games. You know, you feel like you see the guy on the mound on the other side and he's dealing, and I can't give up any more runs for the team. You know, you get up there, you just put a little pressure on yourself.
That ball go through his glove?
Yes.
That's rough. You almost survived that.
You know, that ball goes through his glove. You know, he catches the ball, we get out of the inning, and, you know, we go from there and see what happens. You know, we can, you know, do some other things. You know, maybe take a few more pitches, maybe drop down a bunt, but when we're down by 3, it's, you know, we got to kind of hit our way back in.
You thought he took to the opener situation well enough, seemed like he pitched certainly fairly well.
I thought he did a really good job for us for 5 innings after that. Hart did a tremendous job coming in and keeping it there. We just couldn't get it going off Dustin. You know, it was one of his nights.
That was Padres interim manager tonight, the usual bench coach, Randy Norris. Sam Levitt back with you inside our San Diego studios as the Padres fall tonight 3-0 to the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm going to watch the replay of this right now. Did that ball go through Wagner's mitt at third base? Now, maybe I didn't see the right replay of it. I'm not going to see a great replay of it there either. You know what? I'm going to have to go back and watch that. Maybe those of you commenting on YouTube, you can tell me that you saw a replay of it. I honestly, I didn't see the replay of it after. Either way, you know, Wagner almost makes that play at third base, and you know that would have been the inning right there, and prevented Giolito from eventually giving up 2 runs in that 4th inning, but was not to be tonight, and the Padres fall by a final score of 3-0 here in St. Louis. When we come back, we'll get into our daily awards. If you want to get a phone call in, 833-288-0973. Phone number to call, as always, 833-288-0973. If you want to talk a little Padres baseball on this Monday evening. Full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later as well. Padres fall 3-0 in the series opener tonight in St. Louis. Our postgame coverage continues after this. Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score here tonight, Cardinals 3 and the Padres nothing as the Padres fall in the opener of this 3-game series in St. Louis. The story tonight, no doubt about it, Dustin May, the former Dodger, was just terrific tonight. 9 shutout innings, a complete game, 1 hitter for Dustin May on 101 pitches. So that was the big story of the night. Pitching-wise, we'll talk more about it in a moment, but, it wasn't bad for the Padres tonight. They were in this game, only lost it 3-0, but the Padres had a walk and a single in this inning. In the same inning, that was after May threw 6 no-hit innings, 6 perfect innings. And, that was the story here tonight. Dustin May was in command. Here's a little positive for you. Man, I'm looking out at Murphy Canyon right now. It is a beautiful evening here in San Diego. So hope you're enjoying that despite the final score. We'll see if the Padres can bounce back tomorrow in the middle game of this series. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Let's tell you about tonight's relief pitcher of the game.
Which pitcher entered the game and slammed the door shut? This is today's relief pitcher of the game, brought to you by San Diego criminal defense attorney David P. Shapiro. We help good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime. Learn more at davidpshapirolaw.com.
Relief pitcher of the game here tonight. You got a couple of options from a Padres standpoint. From a Cardinal standpoint, they didn't use a reliever, so can't pick anybody from the Cardinals today. Look, Giolito's obviously a reliever technically in this game. 5 innings, 3 runs, 86 pitches, 85 rather. Giolito was fine. Again, was he perfect tonight? No. Was it a step in the right direction? I suppose we'll see. But he wasn't perfect, but, he kind of ran into some bad luck in the 4th inning with the way that ball goes off Wagner's mitt. Then he almost made a play on a sharp comebacker, and you just wonder how that inning and ultimately the outing in the game unfolds. If Giolito gets out of that 4th inning without giving up a run, but that was not reality here tonight. So I'm not going to give it to Giolito because he's not really a reliever, even though he was technically a reliever tonight. I won't give it to Kyle Hart, who was good in this game. 2 scoreless innings for Kyle Hart. He gave up a single, faced 7 batters in 2 scoreless innings, came up today from AAA El Paso when Mason Miller was put on the bereavement I want to make sure I phrase this correctly, put on the bereavement / family medical leave list earlier today. We told you about that before the game. Kyle Hart was called up from AAA El Paso, and Kyle came up today and did a really nice job. 2 scoreless innings, and you know what? It was only a 3-0 game. And you got May in there. Maybe he starts tiring. You get a little offense going against them. We talked so much pregame about how the Cardinal bullpen had not been good lately and how they had been really overworked. So never felt like this game was over by any means. And Kyle Hart did a good job keeping it a 3-run deficit, 2 scoreless innings. So for that reason, Kyle Hart, our relief pitcher of the game. Now let's take a look at the Padres' heart of the order.
Let's take the pulse of the Padres and check in on the Heart of the Order, presented by Palomar Health, the official healthcare provider of 97.3 The Fan. Palomar Health, leading with heart for every patient. Palomar Health is reimagining healthcare.
Part of the order here tonight, 3, 4, 5 spots. Manny Machado, Gavin Sheets, Xander Bogaerts. Not a great night. It's not going to be that way when you get 1 hit. Manny Machado had the lone hit, so there was that. The single in the 7th inning, he was 1 for 3. Sheets 0 for 3. Bogaerts 0 for 3. So a combined 1 for 9 for the heart of the order tonight. Machado, Sheets, Bogaerts, hopefully better tomorrow. But that was kind of the story for the entire Padres offense tonight. They're shut out on just 1 hit. Our postgame coverage, as always, brought to you by Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. When we return, we'll take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll get you ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series in St. Louis tomorrow. Again, if you want to squeeze a phone call in, talk about tonight's game, you can do that at 833-288-0973. Again, the phone number, 833-288-0973. Padres fall tonight 3-0 to the St. Louis Cardinals. Our postgame coverage continues after this on the Padres Radio Network. Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Final score here today, the Cardinals 3 and the Padres nothing. The Padres shut out by Dustin May, who was excellent for the Cardinals tonight. A one-hitter on 101 pitches. Now, good news is tomorrow Padres have Michael King on the mound, so a nice opportunity to bounce back tomorrow in Game 2 of this 3-game set. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit. I suppose another silver lining, nice positive from this ball game. Jackson Merrill made a nice play in center field. He's become very, very good at robbing home runs, making those leaps at the fence, and he took a home run away from Alec Burleson. But again, unfortunately, later in that 4th inning, that was when you had the ball go off Wagner's mitt, hit really hard, really not his fault. And then you had Giolito missed the ball from Wynn. Sharp comeback, or again, not an easy play, but I'm sure Giolito was kicking himself a little bit because the next batter, Crooks, hit a 2-run double, and boom, just like that was a 2-0 St. Louis lead. But that's the way it went here tonight. Padres, again, the main story of this game, get shut out on one hit against Dustin May, who at one point in this game was perfect through 6 innings. Let's take a wider look at the majors tonight, tell you what's going on the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. The Twins beat the Rangers 4-2 in Arlington. Josh Bell hit a 3-run home run in that game, and Byron Buxton also hit a home run in that game for the Twins. The Reds beat up on the Mets 12-0 in Cincinnati today. Home runs in that game for Eugenio Suarez. He hit 2. J.J. Bleday also hit a home run for Cincinnati. The Nationals beat the Royals 7-3 in D.C. Nationals in that game got a home run from Dylan Cruz, young outfielder. Nationals won it 7-3 against the Royals. The Phillies blanked the Marlins 7-0 in Philadelphia tonight. Home runs in that game for JT Realmuto. He went deep, his 5th of the year in that one. Rays and the Dodgers are tied at 3 in L.A. right now. 2nd inning in L.A. The A's lead the Pirates 3-0 in Sacramento in the 4th inning. Diamondbacks ahead of the Angels 2-1 in Arizona in the 5th. The Tigers lead the Astros 8-3 in Houston in the 8th inning. And finally, Rockies ahead of the Cubs 4-3 in Chicago in the 8th. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Monday evening. As you could probably tell, how many games did we have tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we only had 20 teams in action tonight, 10 teams with a day off. So we'll be back to a much fuller out-of-town scoreboard tomorrow. Final score in St. Louis tonight, the Cardinals 3, the Padres nothing. Let's hear tonight's play of the game.
One bounce, one hit, one pitch can be the difference between victory and defeat. What was the most important play in today's game? This is today's play of the game. Presented by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating and Air, Restoration and Flood. We know how.
Pitch on the way. That's smacked in the air, deep to left center. Long run. Jackson Merrill not going to get there. Over his head. Tried to cut it off on the warning track, but goes in and out of his glove. Both runners will come in to score. It's a 2-run double for Jimmy Crooks. And the Cardinals have the first 2 runs of the night. 2-0 here in the 4th.
No, unfortunately, that was our play of the game here tonight. Jimmy Crooks, that 2-run double. Hey, if that was the only run-scoring hit the Cardinals had tonight, it would have been enough. Made it a 2-0 game. They got the RBI double from Burleson against Giolito in the 5th inning. That made it a 3-0 game, and that would end up being the final score. Again, not to belabor the point, but this game was all about Dustin May, who was terrific tonight. A complete game, one-hitter for the St. Louis Cardinals. So not a great night for the Padres offense, no doubt about that. We'll see if the offense can get it going tomorrow. There was one other thing I wanted to focus on before we said goodbye tonight. Oh, that was just, again, just to kind of wrap up the day for Lucas Giolito. Again, look, was it a stellar outing in the bulk innings role? 5 innings, 3 runs given up. Did the walk hurt him a little bit? Yes, he walked 3. One of those came in to score. One of them was also a 2-out walk after he had already walked the leadoff man in the 5th inning and then erased it with a double play, and then he walked another guy. So that kind of hurt with the way that went. I will say, this outing was quite a bit better from a command standpoint and a length standpoint than what he's been doing as of late. Hopefully it's a step in the right direction for Lucas Giolito. So we'll see. Look, Giolito is going to be important to this Padres team. They need him to put together good outings. And, I'll be curious based on how he pitched today if we see him again have an opener. We do see teams, if it does work, okay, and I do think tonight, despite the final score, I do think it worked, the opener scenario. I do, because Giolito was fine, kept you in the ball game, gave you length, got it to the end of the 6th inning, which, he had not been doing. That was kind of the goal when you had Peralta start the game. Well, the idea is, hey, Giolito's going to come in and get you to the later innings, and he did get through the 6th inning. You would have loved if he went even deeper in this game, but he did get you, to the 7th inning before he had to use another reliever. But I'm going to be interested to see if they go with the opener again, because I do feel like teams, when it works, they're sort of inclined to do it again. And tonight, to me, the pitching part of it was fine. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to win a ball game. But, unfortunately, none of it mattered tonight because of how good Dustin May was. And I suppose you tip your cap and you try to go get him tomorrow, and hopefully the Padres offense gets it going tomorrow. I'll put it this way. One thing we talked about pregame, the Padres in the 6-game span when they won the 2 series against the Reds and the Orioles, overall, and you know this if you've been watching and listening, the offense has been better. It's been more productive, averaging over 5 runs per game in that 6-game span entering tonight. I suppose the hope is that a game like tonight is sort of the blip on the radar. A game like tonight is the anomaly for the rest of this road trip, and not the offense sort of going in that direction again, because I think you hope what you've seen in the last 6 games before tonight is the team starting to hit a little bit more. Now, they've got massive contributions from some of these guys who have come up from AAA El Paso for sure. But you hope tonight was sort of just one of those nights where you ran into a guy who was totally on his game. We'll see in the days to come if that's the case or not. Speaking of the days to come, a look ahead to tomorrow. It'll be the middle game of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Cardinals at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Right-hander Michael King on the mound for the Padres tomorrow. Right-hander Andre Palante on the mound for St. Louis. First pitch tomorrow at 4:45 p.m. And our pregame coverage will begin from inside our San Diego studios at 3:45. As always, our postgame coverage has been brought to you by Jamul Casino Resort. Hey, player, the rooftop pool's open, day passes are available, and the spa is calling your name. Jamul Casino Resort, the player's place. As always, if you missed any portion of our post-game coverage, you can go back and listen to all of it on the Inside San Diego Baseball podcast, available on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcasts. If you would rather watch the video version of our post-game show, you can go back on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel and watch any portion of our post-game coverage there as well. Taking a look at the final totals here tonight in this series opener for the St. Louis Cardinals. 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors. They left on 6. For the Padres, no runs, 1 hit, no errors. They left on 1. Dustin May, the winning pitcher tonight, he improves to 5-6. The losing pitcher, Lucas Giolito, who drops to 2-2. Time of game, a quick one in the Lou tonight, 2 hours and 8 minutes. And the crowd at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri, 26,973. Once again, first pitch tomorrow, 4:45 p.m. Our pregame coverage here in California begins at 3:45. Until then, for our great studio coordinator, Jeff Hamby, I'm Sam Levitt saying so long and good night from inside our San Diego studios. Again, the final score today, the St. Louis Cardinals 3 and the San Diego Padres 0. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Padres Radio Network. Have a great night, everybody.